Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. And I am here with Gary Keli'i, and he is a local man on the Big Island of Hawaii, and he is also a U.S. Let me get his bio up. He is a U.S. Air Force. He was in the U.S. Air Force. He was a technician, a corrosion control specialist, an entrepreneur, a designer and fabricator. And what I love is that he also was a co-pilot on the Atlantis submarine in Kona, which is really fun. So Gary, thank you so much for joining me.
Aloha, thank you for having me on.
So first of all, I want to just talk a little bit about your story of how you woke up to understanding that something wasn't right in the world. Like what's your story around that?
Well, growing up early on in the islands, a little bit history on me. I am the traditional in most aspects. Mom was born and raised on Oahu, where there's a lot of military guys, and a lot of them wanted military so they can get off the rock. Well, she did that, and then that didn't go so well, so we came back to the islands. And from then on, growing up all over the country and everything else, as she was trying to make her way from Central Hawaii, Iowa, basically, to come back to Hawaii, we traveled all over the country. So you see a lot of different things. You experience a lot of different things. And then went to Waianae High School over on Oahu. That was an interesting lifestyle. And then I entered the military. That's when I woke up real fast. And I joined the military to fight for freedom and everybody's independence. But then I started realizing that's not what was happening. The places that our aircrafts were going wasn't even on the map. Nobody's heard of the areas that some of those aircrafts went. And I'm like, something's not right here. So that started the journey of what is going on? Who do I really work for? Um, Are we really fighting for freedom or some rich man's pocket? And I started understanding everything that was happening real fast when nothing started adding up. You're like, why are these aircrafts going places that we have no issues with? So me being the, what is that? I got curious. And when I did, that's when I started looking into some of the areas that they went. And so I made contacts, talked to other friends, and they're like, yeah, there's other things going on that most Americans don't know about. So then that's when I started digging deeper and finding out that America's not the America we thought we were. It's actually a facade. It's fake. There's other things behind it. And talk about the confusion. You're like, this can't be real, but
Yeah.
you're seeing it as it is. That led into a lifetime of trying to find out what's really going on and to learn to live. There's two systems. Everybody, if most people by now should know that there is two systems. There's a actual private system, and then there's your corporate system. When you do your normal daily living, you're working in your corporate system. Your tickets, your rents, your money, the fiat money, all that. That's the corporate system. But there's a private side to everything. And I'm just now learning about that one because I was born to live in the corporate.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I understood that when our military go to certain areas, there is a financial gain for the corporation. And I don't know how much I can say on this without you getting censored or anything like that. But there is two separate systems that are working together in our daily lives. I understand you're also a state national,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Working to be,
awesome.
yeah, working to be.
Working to
One
be a
more,
state national.
yeah, one more thing to do that's coming through.
Congratulations, keep it up. The problem with us Hawaiians is we are stuck in a quagmire because we have the legal overthrow that we're trying to deal with. So are we Americans? Or are we actually kingdom subjects?
Mm-hmm.
Again, two systems operating in the same time. And that's what makes it very interesting living in Hawaii and you seeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got me constantly still in this journey. It's fun. It's confusing, but it's one hell of a ride.
Yeah, it's when I first woke up and first I cried like a baby because I was like, oh my gosh, everything I thought I knew was a complete lie. And then I asked my boyfriend at the time, what do we do? And there was nothing to do. But now what's to do is to learn and how to get out of the system, and also what your rights really are, so that's a whole nother story. But let me go back to you. So let's go to the Maui Fires, because you being in the U.S. Navy, and how long were you in the Navy? U.S. Air Force. How long were you in the Air Force?
Just under 3 years, because I figured out what the hell was going on. I got caught up in that stupid Clinton downsizing of the military.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did not like following the rules that were being told against me. I did get an honorable discharge. That's awesome. But I realized it's like we're being sent all over the world. No one's at home to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be the same play right now. Ship all of our soldier boys off to far, far countries and leave it up to a militia, or what is that, the National Guards, which are still controlled by the federal government now.
Mm-hmm. And what do you know
So
about the federal government? What are your thoughts on the federal government?
that they are a private for-profit corporation.
They're not part of the government. It's not a government. It's not.
No, the Department of Defense is a private corporation. I did not know that. I was a mercenary and did not know that. Basically, whoever the higher bidder was got our services. And that led me into looking into what is the federal government, the definition, the actual legal definitions of federal. And that led me down other roads, not rabbit holes, but other roads that most people don't even know exist still. And you learn a lot, especially being in the military. You see certain things, you see certain tactics, the psyop systems. If your eyes are not opened after coming out of the military, you went in blind completely.
Yeah. So knowing all of this, and then what were your thoughts on the Maui Fires when they first started, when you first saw that happening?
When I first saw it and I was hearing all the stories and everything else, I'm like, that's a military tactic. It's to funnel everybody into a choke point. And when I started hearing that these people were stuck in certain areas, one way in, one way out, I'm like, that's the perfect opportunity to jam people up. If you want to do mass injuries, if you wanted to actually help people get out, you would have been using both sides of the roads. But instead, they jammed up one side and prevented anybody from leaving. And that right there, something did not sink well in my gut. I'm like, these poor guys got set up. And knowing the technology that we have, thanks to being in the Air Force, you look at certain things a different way. And I know there's technology out there that does the same system. I grew up in Oregon where we had wildfires, real actual wildfires. And when they kept calling it a wildfire, I'm like, that's not a wildfire.
Exactly. And what made you say it's not a wildfire?
Just the way it was responding, because here on the Big Island, at that same time, thank God the islands are so small. They can't really hide too much. At that same time, when Maui was going off, Waikoloa area, which is dry, that automatically somehow caught on fire. And then Manolani Hotel catching on fire at the same time. That's
Oh, I didn't
way
know
too
that.
damn coincidence.
I didn't
Way
know
too
that.
damn.
Wow, I didn't know she caught on fire too.
And you start putting things together real fast, like this was a setup. It's either man-made arson where they actually paid a lot of people, or something beyond our knowledge was used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And noticing that there was multiple fires up Mauka first, if you were using it as a tactic, and especially with Maui, I did not know Maui was on a restricted water system, that they had a private water system and a public water system.
I do know.
In general, what made it even better was they caught the Mauka fires where all the rich people were. They used up all the water resources to protect the rich. Then they start the lower side. Now you just divided and conquered. Now you just divided all the fire departments.
Oh.
So one is up, one's down Mauka or Makai, on the land, the ocean side. Now they're rushing up to the mountain. Then they're rushing to a different area. Then they're rushing all over these other areas just to protect the rich people's homes. Now the people who are in charge of watching the water, they already know damn well that the water is getting low. So all you'd have to do is just start a small little spark. Let that wind you have information on that one.
Mm-hmm.
How the wind just picked up all of a sudden, even though our hurricane was 600 miles south of us.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
And living on the Big Island, we should have gotten that wind first, because
Yes,
we're on the Big Island.
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
But you had a podcast, and I also seen that same individual where he tracks that type of systems around the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And he noticed that
see.
too.
Yeah, I'll see if I can quickly bring that up. But I do, before I do that, I want to do a screen share and ask you about, because this is a standtogetherhawaii.com. You guys can go to this and you just click on Maui Fires, scroll down. And this was really interesting when I found this, or someone sent this to me. And this is from the Defense Technology Information. And this literally says, right here, the title, forest fire as a military weapon. Have you heard of anything like this?
Yes, I have. It's used all over the world, but people don't believe it. A lot of it is they don't believe their governments would do that to them.
That's what my point was when I first was waking up. I was like, no way, because this was about the 9 and then I don't like to, I want to kind of keep that one down low, but the two twin buildings, anyway, we know what I'm talking about. When I was told that what was happening, I said, no way that our government could not do that to us. And that was so I understand that. So when you learned about what I just showed you when you were in the military?
Not too long after that, because it's a tactic used to try to basically break down your enemies. Everything is war. Once you understand that Trading with the Enemies Act, and underneath the U.S. law, Trading with the Enemy Act, the U.S. citizens are known as enemy combatants. If you understand what an enemy combatant is, you're free game in war.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew we were in war.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, as long as war is still going on, we are still classified as enemy combatants.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I knew about, tried to forget, because I'm like, no, this can't be, this really cannot be right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, time shall tell, and sure enough, it's telling, it is right.
Yeah. So I want to do a quick screen share again and just show what you were talking about with the wind, and unmute. I don't know where he's talking about, but this is what he was showing. This is Bruce Douglas of Maui, who has 15 years experience of watching the weather on the Hawaii Islands. And this is what he showed, that and also I have another friend of mine, a really good friend who works for national security, She's a security expert, and she was actually flying on the day before, and she actually saw a very similar weather pattern over Maui when she was flying off of the islands. But anyway, let's just kind of hear what he has to say a little bit. Oh, can you hear that? Can you hear this? Can you hear this, Gary? Can you hear it? Oh, you
No,
can't
I
hear it.
cannot.
Oh, okay. I have to do a stop share. I forgot to add the audio. So let me do a screen share sound. So let me go back. Okay, now you should be able to click exit full screen. Hold on 1 second while I get some of my techie stuff ready. Oh, there we go. Okay. So let's go back here, share screen. Okay, the sound is on now. And let's go right a little bit past there. And then press play.
Cloud comes as a wave. And what's even more curious is that the clouds don't go, these wave pattern clouds don't go past the Hawaiian Islands. They stop right at the Hawaiian Islands.
Wow.
And don't go past it. I'm going to back up and look at the morning of it as well. And you can see the same pattern there where it comes right up to Hawaii and then doesn't go past it. And you look to the north and south, the same pattern happens. And normally you'd see them, they just pass right through the Hawaiian Islands and keep on going. But I've never seen this pattern of lines perfectly lined up like that in a perfect line before after 15 years of looking at weather satellite images.
That's crazy.
So here's the morning of the 8th.
Oh, that's more than, but I do want to share. So this was on the 8th. This was on the 8th, and then he goes over to show this part right here.
Winds, and for some strange reason concentrated on the other side of the island. And here you see the morning of the 9th, it goes back to normal cloud patterns again on the 9th. So we're looking at is the 8th, 7th, these line of clouds. Now, what would have done it? It almost looks like someone's creating a wave generator and creating wave after wave of cloud. So let's look at the infrared video loop. These are infrared satellites. Infrared sees things as heat or reflectivity. And this is Hurricane Dora off the coast of Mexico, forming right here and starting to spin. And it's colorized, so the more extreme concentrations of clouds or colorations are exaggerated in this. So you can see where there's concentrations of clouds. So here you see it's forming off the coast, and it appears to be a natural hurricane to me. I don't see any aerosol injections or anything else happening with it. And then it spins up into a nice tight little hurricane like a natural hurricane would do, and stays at 10 degrees latitude, which again is what natural hurricanes do. They don't veer off of 10 degrees latitude because that's the shear zone of the toroidal field of the planet. And you notice to the north of us, there's a cloud bank of solid clouds moving along a trade wind direction, completely unaffected by this spinning right here. The clouds are not doing anything unusual in this big cloud bank. But at this point right here, as it comes in line with the Hawaiian Islands, you start seeing this anomaly of this clouds glistening and vibrating and like a frequency generator on it, doing all these things. And the clouds break up and they start forming lines and patterns. And you can almost see, like in this point right here, where there's a frequency generator pounding those clouds and creating that whole effect. And then it goes on its merry way past the islands after the hurricane. So let's look at this part again right here a couple times. And you can see, I hope it comes through on your screen, but you can see the wave patterns and something right about here, generating that wave pattern becomes very pronounced right here, where you can see right here where there's some sort of equipment out there, ripples, creating the ripple effect and making it happen.
So you're familiar with this, Gary? Are you?
Yes, that technology was used long time ago. It was also used in Vietnam War, which a lot of people probably don't know about or don't remember anymore. It was a very, how do you put this? very effective method to flood out the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Oh.
And it worked really, really well. It worked so well that our own military equipment got bogged down. That system was part of our training in the Air Force. So I'm well aware of geoengineering, weather modifications, using weather as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started seeing this, I'm like, wait. And there's just too many coincidences.
Yep. Let me show you another share screen again, because if people are still like, there's no weather modification, blah, blah, blah. There was a Weather Modification Act of 1976. I've shared this before, so people have watched my videos, they've seen these. But this is a Weather Modification Act of 1976. And, oh, interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see here. All right, there it is. Approved October 13th, 1976. And this was for the enrolled bill would direct the Secretary of Commerce to conduct a study which would include, I'm not going to read all of it, a review and analysis and research efforts and needs in weather modification technology. So this was an act that was passed in 1976. There's also a U.S. patent for let me just bring this up, for weather modification number, can't see that, but a method and apparatus for altering region of the Earth's atmosphere and ionosphere and magnetosphere. So this is a true U.S. patent. And then the last thing I want to share on this as well is coming back to the dues, and this is also a U.S. patent for an apparatus that creates microwave transmission using a laser generated plasma beam waveguide, United States patent. And this was in April 5th, 2000. So this technology does exist, you guys, if watching this and you're just like, what? And now we also have a U.S. Air Force person, veteran, thank you, sharing with this. So when you saw this and you saw that it was what was happening, what were your thoughts and how did you feel about that?
I had mixed feelings. I was angry because I recognized it. And I was even angrier because in order for this to happen, somebody had to give the authorization for them to do this. Somebody paid them. And that's the whole thing. None of them will ever be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
We can use all the laws, all the codes, any revised statute. They will never be held accountable for it. All those lives lost. The chief of police using FBI tactics to funnel civilians into a choke point. And they were civilians.
Yeah.
We're not military people. They were innocent. But when you have that mindset that we are at war, a lot of times that goes out the door. But the one thing about it is we didn't know we were at war.
We still are, and most people don't realize it.
They keep us so distracted with all these other small little pilly things that they do heinous events like this and say, oh, it was the weather. But how many of them homes had 5G towers on them? That's a whole nother thing. How many of them had the smart meters?
Yeah. If you have a smart meter, get it off. If you have a smart meter, contact your people, get it off.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the videos. Some of the homes started fires inside the home. How? The roof was still on. The sidewalls are still in perfect condition. But you could see the flames coming from inside the house. And so those poor guys got set up in all different directions. And then instantly after that, they started cordoning off the area, which is illegal. That is their house. It was just a fire, right? That's what they claimed. It was just a fire. It's a wildfire. Our bad. Too many events occurred way too fast, and for them to hide as fast as they did. That's a tactic that some people know about. And they used it perfectly fine. They divided the fire department. They ran down the resources. They protected the rich. Then they shut the water off. Not to mention, they funneled everybody down and had the stupid officer saying, I'm just following my job.
Yeah,
Those officers need to be held accountable for it.
absolutely.
But were they actually real officers, or were they actors?
Yeah. That's a
Were
good
they actually
question.
placed there? Was those actually real officers? Or were they a soldier dressed up like an officer? Because if that officer actually lived on that island, that's his people.
There's no way. I don't think a local Hawaiian
I could
officer
not
would.
do that. There's no way I could do that. But they're like, oh yeah, we see the fire, but we're just doing our job. And then they
Also,
started hunting down people that were witnessing it.
what I find interesting is that you look at the burned fires or burned cars, no doors are open. If a fire's coming for you and you see it, wouldn't you get out of the car? All the car doors are closed.
Well, some of the witnesses said some of them burned in their cars. They didn't even have a chance to get out.
That's
some of those on Front Street, because they got blocked by the cops, they got out and jumped over the fence. There was a few videos of that one. But where's the cop car at? He managed to get out of there. On both sides, they managed to get out of there. All the cop cars managed to get out. How?
So I have a question for you about the war with when you saw, like, how did you find out, or what did you see that said that the US citizens are at war with and I don't want to use these words too much, but with the FEDGOV?
It's called the Trading with the Enemy Act. I believe it was one of the presidents included US citizens.
I saw that.
As enemy combatants. Like, you remember how I said there's two different systems working in the same time?
Yes.
US citizens are residents of Washington, D.C. But under that whole phrase, you tell a person lying long enough, they'll believe it's the truth. So are you actually a real US citizen?
This is what
if the definition of a US citizen is someone who is either works for the federal government or is born and or created in Washington, D.C. territory. If you're born in a state, are you really a U.S. citizen? Or are you a actual state national or a state citizen?
Well, you become a U.S. citizen through your birth certificate. And then that puts you into the 14th Amendment, which was created after the Civil War, and it was actually an act to enslave everybody. So I love what you're saying, because it is absolutely true. And I have seen Trading with the Enemy Act. So let me see if I can pull it up, because I've seen that, and I was going to do a video on it, and it'd be great to just add it in here. But
I believe it was Roosevelt that added U.S. citizens.
Trading with the Enemy Act. Yes, and I just want to say too, I want to remind people of the story that I keep telling people around the Catholic Church back in the late 1500s. They created an order called the Jesuits to basically destroy the Protestant Reformation that was moving away from the Catholic Church, and they wanted to stay in power. So really long story short, because they actually got booted out and then they got reestablished in 1814. The reason why we got our freedom in 1776 was only because that Jesuit order got booted out of many nations around the world, and they actually had the Pope destroy the Jesuit empire. The Jesuit order in 1773. This is the only reason why 3 years later we got our independence, was because we only had to fight England. We didn't have to fight all the other nations, because had we had the Jesuit order been strong in those other empires, in those other nations, we probably wouldn't have gotten our independence, because that is definitely not what the Catholic Church wanted, was to have a republic where people are represented by the government, and not the government controls the people, which is what it moved into. Because now, you guys, after 1814, that order got reestablished, and those people infiltrated all of the nations, including the United States, which is what happened in the Civil War. The Civil War happened because, yes, there was a North and South, but it was meant to divide us. That's the whole reason for the Civil War. It was meant to divide this nation, and it succeeded. And then after that, the people put as presidents, they had, a handler, because the president has really, he's the front man. He doesn't have a lot of power that people think, but there are handlers that handle the president. Obviously, you can see it with who's in power now. But this is what happened. They infiltrated. So Roosevelt was infiltrated. Woodrow Wilson was highly infiltrated, because he's the one that put in power the federal government in 1913, and the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is not a government company. It is a profit by the banks. It is owned by the banks. So we have been infiltrated. I don't know when it started, but it was around the Civil War. So this is what people have to understand. And I love that how awake you are, especially with this treaty, trading with the enemy, which I can't seem to find it right now. But well, I can find it, but it's really long, and I don't. Maybe I can look through it, because I want to show people where it says what is the verbiage that you used around when you saw the Trading of the Enemy Act of 1917.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I don't want to misquote it. I do not remember verbatim, but basically, if you're a U.S. citizen, you are an enemy of the states of America.
Mm-hmm.
And through fraud, deception, and coercion, a lot of us have been tricked into believing we're U.S. citizens, which makes us an enemy, even though we're not enemies. We're not like, hey, I just want to live my life. I have nothing. Your politics is your politics. Just keep providing the services that your contract says you must be providing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I understand why Congress doesn't really work for us, because they are U.S. citizens. To them, we are their enemy. And I'm like, no, we're supposed to be working together. Again, the three branches are all private corporations. They all have their own sub-franchises. And when you start asking, like even with officers, like, hey, don't you work for me? You work for us, right? The officer's like, no. He's not lying to you. He does not work for you.
Yeah.
He works for the corporate state that employs him.
Yeah.
And across the nation, most officers are not required to put their life on the line for you. They're a security guard for the corporation state. That is what a police officer is. I love them dearly. I understand what they do, but they are a security guard with a license to kill you for the corporate state that they work for. Everything is all about money. And that's how you fund wars, is through monies.
So I did find it, and let me go ahead and share my screen, and kind of found it. Let's see here. So let me scroll up. This is the appendix of the War of the Nation. Where does it say? Well, anyway, this is where I found it, because I want to show people exactly where I found it. Went to U.S. Trading with the Enemy Act, and this is what came up. under the Act of Germany. Okay, I don't want to read that part, but this is where I found this, and I'll leave the link in the description. And let's see here. The word ally or enemy as used herein shall be deemed to mean, and this is any individual, partner, or other body of individuals or nationality resident within territory, any nation. And this is, so I'm going to scroll down because it says, here we go. I think it's such other individuals or body, class, or individuals, or maybe natives, citizens, or subjects of any nation which is an ally or which is an ally. So this is what he says. Any enemy can be construed herein as this, which is an ally of a nation with which the United States is at war. Other citizens of the United States, wherever resident, or where other citizens of the United States. That's what I was looking for. Other citizens of the United States, wherever resident or wherever doing business as the president, if he, she find the safety of the United States or the successful prosecution of war shall so require, may be proclamation include within the term ally or of enemy, ally of enemy. And this is really interesting. Remember when, I don't know if you guys saw my last video with the person about debt, but I said the word person is used herein shall be deemed to mean individual, partnership, association, company, or other unincorporated body of individuals or corporation of body politic. So I'm going to leave the link in the description for that, but that is the treaty. What is it? That is the trading with the enemy that Gary is talking about. So Gary, what do you think the people of Lahaina can do? Because I was at a point when this first started, I thought, man, I thought we could save. I'm very naive sometimes, and I thought we could save Lahaina and save the people and have them save their land. I don't know what to do anymore. Do you have any ideas?
Well, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to help the people of Lahaina. But we need a lot of the people of Lahaina to start taking the information that is being shared and putting it upon your political people. The mayor, he is a principal for the county, which is a corporation. County of Maui is a corporation. He is the principal for it and can be held personally liable for injuries and damages. There's a thing called a notice of liability that instead of filing lawsuits, which they've made laws that protect them, if they are an actual corporation operating in the state of Hawaii, by commerce, they must have insurance. Each insurance, if it is attached, is per event. All they need is 100 people to file an insurance claim against the county for failure to do their job. That insurance claim will go bust, which will shut down the, sorry, I almost swore, shut down the county of Maui. Because if they are willing to hurt their people, they do not need to be in business. The police department is its own contract hire. So the people need to start going after their insurance policy and start getting their insurance revoked. Each occurrence, remember, in Hawaii, by law, to operate a corporation must have at least, depending on where it's at, $1 million policy per occurrence. So instead of trying to waste your time going through lawsuits with the corrupted judicial system, the judge, the prosecutor, and defender works for the state. You think they're going to find the state culpable? No. They just put themselves out of a job. I would not do that. But an insurance policy is different. That is its own system. Like if you've ever had to deal with workers' comp, you got injured on a work instead. Do you go and sue your employer? No. You go and apply for workers' comp, which is its separate insurance from the employer.
Yeah.
Once they start looking at it as it's a corporation, we don't have to sue them. And most of the time, there's a law that prevents you from suing the mayor as the mayor. But as a private corporation, the word mayor does not exist. and people are trying to sue him as mayor. No, his official capacity is key principal of the county of Maui. The police chief, he is the head of the police. The Maui County Police Department is a corporation also, if people didn't know that. The police
Mhm.
chief is the head of that corporation. And since he actually gave the orders to do what those officers did, he can and should be held liable for everything that happened.
Yeah.
Because he was no longer, the moment he funneled and trapped people in, he was no longer trying to help people.
Yeah.
He was with full intentions to
Murdering.
hurt them. And if you actually believe that the power lines had no power in them, that means they're dead lines. Your car has rubber tires. You're not going to get injured by it. Even if it was live.
Yeah.
But from the videos I seen, there was no power. The traffic lights were off. The cops were out there blocking one lane. And it was just a fiasco right from the very, very start. For Maui's police department to be one of the best police departments, they failed miserably. I'm sorry, but they failed under leadership.
Yeah.
That same leadership also failed the Las Vegas people with the massacre. There's a whole nother issue behind that one too. But somehow he goes from Las Vegas, then he shows up in Maui, and then we have another mass casualty. No, that's not correct. He was placed there.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Green and the people who pay Josh Green's paycheck,
Yeah.
sure taking us, placed him there.
Yes.
The police commissioner should be held liable for putting him in there. It infuriates. Those were Hawaiians. Those were Filipinos. Those were Hawaii's culture. Mixed race. It's who we are in Hawaii. And for these guys to wipe them out, or at least try to wipe out as much as they could,
Yeah.
that's disgusting.
It's
And
genocide and it's murder.
Then you try to starve them out. They forgot Hawaii we might have 8 different islands, but we got family on every single dang island.
Yes.
And to have a federal government, which we already don't trust because what they did in the overthrow and the whole past history and stuff like that. Then you try to stop them. FEMA, a private corporation. Red Cross, a private corporation. And then you try to stop them from helping each other when the governor himself didn't even make a phone call to the military, the active duty militaries, which would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
But he needed more casualties.
Yeah. Even though
he needed more damage.
Even though he's not even mentioning the casualties, he's mentioning he went from 115 people dead to 97, which is absolutely impossible. And he never mentioned the missing people, how many people are missing.
Nope.
And so that number is absolutely a lie, an absolute blatant lie. And he knows it. So,
well, it's when they cordoned it off and violated everybody's rights. Mind you, he was using a homelessness proclamation.
Yeah, he put in that emergency proclamation 3 weeks before the fire when there was no emergency. It was not an emergency. They're just using that because COVID showed them the blueprint, or actually that was their plan. And yes, absolutely.
But I looked in to see if he actually filed an emergency proclamation for the fire. He did not.
Wow.
He was using the homelessness proclamation, which are 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And he was using the law for the homelessness for a so-called emergency proclamation, which should have been filed for the Maui fire. So legally, he was crossing 2 different jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm.
From what I have found, he was utilizing a homelessness, which, yes, the state of Hawaii has always been in a homelessness proclamation. But for him to use the homelessness proclamation to enforce, to restrict people's rights of access to their own properties, that's their property. They have every legal right to go in. And then
Yeah,
they
and
use military,
violated.
sheriff's department. It was sickening. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
But most people understand that sheriff, by the Hawaii state constitution, the sheriff is actually supposed to be elected.
Yes.
But through a corporate amendment, they made the sheriff a security guard for prisoners. The sheriff, one of the
Oh my
most
gosh.
highest law enforcement units in the U.S. Constitution and state constitution, got dwindled down to a piddly little security guard. Why?
Wow.
Because the sheriff's department is the ones who can arrest the corrupt people.
Mm-hmm.
A corporate or municipal police officer can't touch a corrupt politician. An elected sheriff can.
Wow.
And to see all that happening, that public safety officers, sheriff, prison guards have no authority outside. I looked it up. The curiosity got me. Sheriff's officers, public safety officers, have no jurisdiction outside of the judicial system. They are a
Wow.
law enforcement, but they're a security guard for the judicial system and the prison system.
Oh my
Again,
gosh.
two private corporations. So when you hear these people saying actors in uniform, they literally are actors in uniform.
Wow.
And some of the videos where they're threatening the individual of arrest for a homelessness proclamation, which doesn't, yeah. And then
Wow.
the National Guards people going, oh, we were told to be here. As a National Guardsman, and for you to follow an unlawful order,
Yes.
you went against your own oath as a National Guardsman. That is what is disgusting.
Yep.
Your leader, whoever, I can't remember his name is, he failed his oath. Because you have every right to get in there. There was no legal proclamation claimed. I looked and looked to see if he filed an emergency proclamation for the Maui fire. He only filed for financial assistance, but utilized the homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Homelessness.
Yep.
That's all. But yet he used that to deny everybody's rights, arrest people, deny them access to their property so they can get pictures. If they
Because
needed
that's
the
what they
pictures
for
for
insurance.
their insurance. So if they cannot get their pictures, their insurance agent, yes, the insurance agent says, yes, we've seen it on the news. Maui caught on fire. But how do we know your house was part of the fire?
Yeah.
We need proof. It's how it is. But yet the governor, the president, the federal agents, and all them other hobnobbers were walking all around, no mask, nothing, just
Yes.
chit-chatting, dilly-winking everywhere they went.
Mm-hmm.
But when a civilian wants to get in, go back to their, oh, well, there's toxins in the air, there's this, there's that, there's this. But yet the construction guys are walking all around.
Yeah.
I am biologically warfare trained. If that was actually as bad as they said it would, they would not be walking around in their little construction uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I believe it's the Fourth Amendment that prohibits the government from illegal search and seizure of property. Like they cannot take your property, and that's what they did. That's what they did. So they violated that constitution. But if this is a U.S. corporation, then and people are just citizens and enemies of the state, they don't have to follow the Constitution.
No, they don't.
That's the whole point of all of this. So it's like that's what people need to understand, that there is a war, and it's against the people because they don't understand that what's going on. So I hope that this video helps them to understand. So
yes,
there was another thing I was gonna ask you. So you're saying that Lahaina people can go after their insurance of the mayor and the police chief and the police commissioner and the governor. And I believe some people have contacted me and said that. So So I don't know how to do that. So if anybody out there knows how to do that, please email me. And if you know how to do it, Gary, you can email me and because I love action steps. I love giving people action steps of what to do. So if you guys do that, I will get it out. I'll put it on standtogetherhawaii.com under actions, and then we can go from there.
Well, the
But yeah,
state also has, on the state website, they have a thing called risk management.
okay.
They're the ones who control all the information on insurance, bonds, and everything else. And if you're aware of the FOIA system, the Freedom of Information Act, you can request to get all that information. It's supposed to be by law held in the risk management or risk assessment division.
Okay, I'm just going to do a screen share again. So this is an action that people can take. I just put in Hawaii State Risk Management. That's all I put in, Hawaii State Risk Management. In fact, I'll just put it up here so people can see me do it. Hawaii State Risk, and there it is right there, Risk Management. So I clicked on that, and then this page comes up. So do you know where people would go with this, or is this a little bit longer?
That one, I want to say it's a risk assessment division.
And if we need to get off,
it's the one who has all their insurance.
Okay.
I found this out during the COVID when I was trying to file complaints against the Department of Education. And I was asking for insurance policies, and they're like, oh, you got to talk to risk asset or risk assessment.
Okay. So you guys,
I will find that information. I'll send it to you.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great.
That way
And then
you can send it to your friends.
I'll put that out on standtogetherhawaii.com, and that'll be in the action steps. So this is just for Lahaina people to do this, or can anybody do this?
Anybody. The more the Lahaina people do it, the faster the progress is going to be. Because an insurance system does not want to be dragged through courts. So 90% of the time, they're like, okay, here's 10. We give like 10,000, 100,000, depending on your damages. But if they had to fight each and every single case, that's why I say file your cases individually. Do not go as a class action. It is set up against you.
Yeah. Each
individual files a claim. You all are entitled to something.
Yeah.
But once insurance runs out, their bonds, their insurance policies sometimes cannot be renewed.
Which means they're out, which means they're
they're
fired.
all fired. You cannot operate. Same thing with an officer. Same thing with any public official. Bonds for the Wind is where I learned that. It's a website. During the COVID, the school masking and everything else, where they said, oh, this is legal. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay, so that's another website that I'll take a look at. But Bonds for the Win, you guys, you can take a look at that as well. But any last things you want to say, Gary? And then let's do a quick prayer.
Yeah, just for those people in Maui, I am gathering more information. There's a lot of other people that are gathering more information to have your homes discharged. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's an A4V. I have friends that do that professionally to help people.
Yeah.
I have a friend that is willing to help those in Lahaina. Any of those that were affected by their house got burned down, their mortgage companies are still playing these games with them. I will send you that information. I'll send Michelle the information and I'll send as much people as I can that information. He's doing it for free. Normally he charges, but because of what's happening, he's one of us. He knows that we're working in two different systems. Well, he has the key to one of the systems, and he's willing to help. But don't give up.
No,
and
don't give up.
Please just keep waking up. There's going to be more of these.
Yeah.
There's going to be more.
There is. We are
please
under attack.
Stay awake and do not give up. And don't live in fear, though. Do not live in fear.
Yes.
They want you to live in fear.
They do.
Do not let them.
Yes.
Us in Hawaii, we are Ohana. We can get through this. We have to
will.
get through this. So keep fighting, everybody out there. Keep fighting the best that you can and take care of your families no matter what. There's ways, there's answers out there.
Yeah.
We don't have to keep this way. There is answers. I'm looking. There's a whole bunch of other people out there looking. There's people in the mainland. State National Rocks has a lot of information. I don't know these guys, but it's who I follow. I track down, I take the information they give me, and I do my own research. Again, everything I tell you or say, do your own research. Look into it yourself so you understand what is happening and how you can fight back. When they do, they are going to fight back.
Yeah.
They do not want to lose control. So the greater the number, the easier it is to win.
Yeah.
Peacefully.
Yes.
We don't have to do it violently.
Yeah.
Although
absolutely.
that's the option that they chose, we don't have to go that route.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much.
So thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it. And thank you for the time, everybody out there. Please keep fighting.
Go to standtogetherhawaii.com, click on actions. By the time this video is up, I will have that action in place. Also, I'm creating a freedom school. It's in the works. It's just bare bones right now, but it is a freedom school that will have the information of understanding citizen versus national and how the steps to take to become a U.S. national. So thank you so much, Gary. And let's just finish off with a quick prayer. And infinite intelligence of all things, great spirit, we know that you are with us every single step of the way of this journey, this game that we came to play of being in a human body. And we know that Jesus said, do not fear, for I am with you. And the consciousness of Jesus Christ is with us. The love that you have, great spirit, that Jesus has for all people on the world, in the world, is with us always. And we truly, truly do not need to fear, because the light of love is always with us. We are empowered by it. We are strengthened by it. And we take one step forward at a time, knowing what we are doing, knowing what is ours to do. We take steps in courage of doing just that. And we know that these Hawaii Islands are free. We know that the mainland is free. We know that Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine and East Palestine in the United States, that is also completely free. And that all of the Aina, all of the land, which has been terrorized with chemicals, the frequency of love and the knowingness of the people who can make a change for that to be cleaned up is happening. We know that this is happening for around the world, that we are truly free, that what we need is showing up and our hearts are being pulled toward our next step. And we know that we have the courage to take that next step moving forward to free all people, including ourselves. And the knowledge that it is happening, the information that is coming out, to know how to get out of the system, to understand how we have been enslaved, to let go of the old way of being and to open up to a new way of being with each other and with the systems in place, that we are free. We have no fear. We move forward together in aloha, being ohana, and we know that it is done. And breathing into that, and so it is. Thank you so much, Gary, and sending you so much inner strength and protection on your journey, and sending you so much abundance in your life, in love, and just so much appreciation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on here.
All right, everybody. Aloha. Standtogetherhawaii.com. Click on actions and let's just move forward together. Much mahalo.